I deserve this pain. Have you ever thought about what you've said to me? Maybe not. Maybe because you killed me every single day, and I started to believe what you said. And I was stupid for doing that. Every morning, day and night, I look in the mirror and replay the words that you said to me. P.S. It was bullying that really killed me. Please get me justice. This was a quote from a 13-year-old girl who hung herself due to bullying. Her name was Angel Green, and she was 13 years old. So today I'll be discussing the effects of bullying and violence on our youth, ourselves, and future generations. I will also be discussing how schools can be better equipped to handle bullying and a program that might be dedicated to helping those students with emotional distress and trauma that they might have experienced to lead them to be the bulliers. So bullying, what is bullying? By the Department of Health and Human Services, it is classified as name-calling, taunting, leaving someone out on purpose, telling other children to not be friends with someone, spreading rumors, hitting, kicking, punching, spitting, making rude or mean hand gestures. So that is the actual definition of bullying, or to bully. A study by the National United Nations of Education concluded that 246 million adolescents and children are bullied today. So that's every single day, 246 million children. So bullying can cause significant pain to somebody. It can make them feel anxious, depressed, lonely, suicidal. And the bullyingprevention.org association, or the Bullying Prevention Association, states that a victim can really commit suicide within the first few years of experiencing bullying. So 1 in 3 kids are being bullied. That's nearly 30% of all kids in schools today. So bullying is probably our biggest and potentially most fatal of all issues we're dealing with in schools. I know that either some of us have experienced bullying. I know myself have experienced bullying. I was called Toucan Sam and made fun of for my nose every single day until I learned to love myself. It really got to me, and I know that some of you guys probably have experienced bullying too. And it really does have an effect on our education and on our well-being. So now that we know what bullying is, let's talk about what it's done to kids. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple kids that committed suicide due to bullying. The first one, her name was Angel Green, the girl I gave you a quote earlier in my speech. She was made fun of for her father hitting her. She was called words like slut and whore and was cyberbullied for no apparent reason, just because people did not like her. She hung herself on March 5th, 2013 in a tree at the bus stop, so when the bus stop pulled up, all of her bullies could see what they have done to her. The next little girl I'll talk to you about is named Hannah Smith. She killed herself on May 1st, 2014, and she was bullied because of eczema, which is a disease I struggle with too. The last little girl is named Jessica Laney. She was made fun of for trying to help other students that were bullied online. And I have a quote from Jessica here. She was quoted as saying, "If you ever feel low, I just want to say it's not your fault. People are mean. I know you feel useless, broken, and alone. I've been there. It gets better, I promise." She then killed herself 2 weeks from giving that exact quote. So suicide rates from bullying have grown 3 to 5 times over the past 3 decades. That's crazy, you guys. Crazy. According to the United Nations for Education, children are more likely to be bullied if they are from a poor background, are of ethnic culture minorities, are migrant refugee communities, or are disabled children. So Dewey Cornell, a professor at the University of Virginia, says that 29% above average for the dropout rates of schools with teasing or reported bullying. Bullying at the high school level is a noteworthy problem that we need to take recognition for. It has the most serious negative outcome, not graduating. While I agree with Mr. Cornell, I believe the most negative outcome is suicide. That's what he says. So let's discuss what schools are doing and not doing to prevent future bullying and violence in schools. So a school climate as a whole is being affected by bullying. Every single person in a classroom can be affected by bullying. And what I mean by that, I mean the education sector states that an unsafe learning environment creates a climate of fear and intimidation. So lack of awareness among education policymakers, so the people that actually make laws and that go in and try to do legislation, they're not aware of what's going on in schools. Planners, professionals, families, communities, and wider society as a whole are being affected by the harmful effects of bullying and school violence. So a child's education, health, and overall well-being are just being completely demolished by being teased or bullying every day. So if schools could really just focus on healthy intervention, they can truly transform the culture of bullying. So taking a strong stance against it. So if you see it happen, say something, speak up. If you don't feel comfortable, go tell somebody that something is happening. And supporting other teachers. So if you see your teacher trying to say something to a kid that is being bullied, or that to the bullier, you support them. And if you're a fellow teacher, you support your teacher in taking a stance against bullying. And there's also alternative ways of disciplining their students. So usually when kids are disciplined, they can feel really sheltered, they can feel really down on themselves. So if you use something besides corporal punishment, it can really set the tone for the classroom. So managing their classrooms in a different way and alternative discipline routes have been proven to be particularly effective. There's also a severe lack of learning materials to teach students and teachers about mental and physical violence in schools. So without these tools, schools usually resort to calling parents or having a sit-down chat with both of their students, which actually just makes it worse. With the Teachers Association of America urging teachers to not get too involved in overly emotional students. Schools are forced to just have to deal with this on their own. So schools are more focused on sex-based crime. So if I was sexually harassed, I would be able to go and tell somebody about it, and more than likely something would happen to the person that sexually harassed me. Or if I was of the LGBTQ community and somebody was discriminating against me, I would be able to tell somebody about it, and usually they would do something about it. But if I was bullied for the way my shoes looked or the way my hair looked, most of the time nobody would do anything about it because I'm not of a particular class of a person. And actually, anybody that's not of the LGBTQ community or of ethnoculture background is 80, so the other people that get bullied for the way they look or the way they smell or the way anything, just their physical appearance, that makes up 80% of students. So according to stopbullying.gov, most teachers are told to do their own research, like I said, but not everyone agrees on stopping bullying or having an emotional program for bullies and the bulliers, or the bullied, to get through this. So, so the parents and faculty in schools insist that most kids are just kids being kids or boys being boy. John Gillespie actually wrote a piece for the Wall Street Journal and quoted saying that, quote, "Kids are safer and better behaved than they were when I was growing up in the 70s or 80s, which I notice is a really big commonality between people that disagree with this, is because they're a lot older and they believe, well, I grew up into a full functioning adult and I have thick skin because of what I went through, when that just isn't the case. He also goes on to say that kids are more accepting of the, quote, homosexual communities, which is not true. The UNSCO reports that LGBT students are 3 to 5 times more likely bullied than the non-LGBTQ students. LGBTQ has always been a target of bullies, and they will continue to be. So schools just need a dedicated system to stop the bullies or to intervene and to get through it and to work through the emotional trauma and stress. More specifically, as United Nations of Education states, an enforcement of school policy and codes and new conducts, committing to a safe, inclusive, and supporting learning environment for all students. So, but with the lack of legislation and policy against violence in schools, it doesn't seem like much is changing. While a national survey reported over 3,708,284 students were reported as being the bullies. And according to the World Medical Association, bullying is oftentimes associated with mental health disorders such as ADHD or depression, or coming from a poor background. Schools also do little help to help with mental health assistance. So if schools were to offer any program of mental health treatment, they might bring statistics down. Schools are often underfunded and understaffed, and unfortunately. So what can we do? We can go to a local youth center and we can be a counselor to these kids that are being bullied. We can vote for policies and legislation that will help deal with emotional stress and trauma for these bullies and for the bullied. We can teach the children in your own life to not bully others, to be kind to people. And if you see something happen, speak up or go tell an adult. So bullying it's not gonna stop. It's always gonna be around. It was around when I was a kid. It was around when my parents were kids. It's always gonna be around. But it can be prevented. And we can do that by talking to the people in our lives about it. So there will always be the student or adult who wants to hurt others, but with guarding ourselves and educators with knowledge on how to prevent it and handle it, and we can live through it, we can create a safer, more peaceful world and a safer, more peaceful classroom, which is really important so we don't have a bunch of kids dropping out. The students can get an education without fear or intimidation, and now we can have more people going to college and living a happy life. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Raise my hand. No, it's not. Okay, so this just talks a little bit about the bullying statistics, so that 12% disabilities, these are the people that get bullied. This is 12% disabilities, 58% verbal bullying, 50% social relational, 17% is cyberbullying, 23% are students who bullied about their weight, 20% are gender, 39% is physical, and 18% is perceived sexual orientation. And this just makes up a whole about what kids are really bullying. This says bullying occurs once every 7 minutes. That means that while you read this infographic, it is likely that at least one bullying incident will have occurred. In schools across America, 1 in 3 students will report being bullied. So, oh, you can also take the pledge to stand up for bullied students at NEA.org/bullyfree. Thank you.